Hello, everyone, and welcome to our session today on how to easily use and the benefits of Landlord-Reference.com. Again, we are the credit agency for landlord references, taking the processes being done manually today forward by using technology to improve its accuracy, its ease of use, and its validity. We're going to cover today an overview presentation. Then we'll take a tour of the live site of the landlord account. Then we'll tour of the live site for the renter account so you can see what the renters see themselves. We'll leave time for Q&A and then also next steps. First of all, Landlord Reference is not a screening company. What we are is that we safely automate the gathering of landlord references and provide those to our clients the same way that a credit agency does with credit information. Traditional screening companies do provide great value, especially in an increasingly anti-landlord world. As we know, the things that they do are they review the paper or electronic rental application forms. They'll electronically purchase and review credit, criminal, and eviction reports. They'll gather proof of income or proof of employment. Then they'll manually gather and review landlord references, a lot of times through a phone call with the former landlord, or at least the name and number that was provided by the applicant. The thing is, they are very much focused on screening new applicants. So that's really what their value is really screening those new applicants. Many screening companies do have process and validity issues, though, which we'll talk about today. We all know there are three tools we've kind of used over the years, and they have value, but their value is being limited. Credit reports, criminal reports, and eviction reports. Now, as you may or may not know, credit reports contain nothing about an applicant's renting history. All it does is tell how well they paid their credit cards, their mortgages, their car payments, their school loans. It does nothing about their rental history. The other thing is tenant advocates are also reducing the report's relevance because, for example, here in Portland, with the low barrier, if they have over a 500 FICO score, you cannot decline them on their application. The second part is criminal reports. As you probably all heard, Seattle has a thing called Project Fresh Start. So in the city of Seattle, you can no longer use a criminal report in your evaluation of an applicant. There are also some rules coming out here in Portland as well that start on March 2020. The eviction reports, it tends to be viewed as a very important report, and it is if the eviction case goes through the entire trial and a verdict is given. If it does not go clear through the entire trial where the gavel falls and a verdict is rendered, it will never appear on that applicant's eviction report. Also, a lot of times attorneys suggest that the landlord just pays the tenant to move out so you can go ahead and get the apartment back and get that re-rented. I was at a fair housing conference in early 2019, and one of the attorneys there who was doing a presentation was talking to a whole group of landlords, professional property managers, screening companies, etc. And what she said was, landlords, do yourself a favor. Create landlord references and require landlord references as part of your screening process, because they are the best tool when you're looking for a qualified tenant. So while landlord references are the most revealing tool when you're screening an applicant, there are challenges that exist with the manual process that's often used today. First of all, whether you're using a screening company or you're using your own staff or your own time, you are applying time as you try. So for example, with screening companies, they must charge an upfront fee. Maybe it's from $10 to $15 to go off and try to gather up your landlord references, usually over say a 7-day contract period. A lot of times over those 7 days, they're unable to reach the landlord and they cannot give you a report. Unfortunately, because they had to assign their staff to this work, they've already used that time, they've used that money, and they can't give you a refund. So once again, it's a non-refundable upfront fee that they have to charge. A bigger issue is the validity of the number that you're calling, because the name and telephone number that you're using to contact the applicant's former landlords are provided by the applicant, right? So the challenge with that is, are you really talking to their landlord, or are you talking to their friend or family member? As we've talked about before, it is a slow and time-consuming process using telephones, voicemails, fax machines, all sorts of things. It can take anywhere, we've heard from landlords, 5 to 7 days, if not longer. We've also mentioned that many times they come up empty-handed within those 7 days, even though they have spent the time and the effort trying to do that. With Portland's new first come, first served requirement, this may also lead to longer vacancies. Because once again, if you are requiring that it takes 5 to 7 days to get a landlord reference while you're there waiting on that person who's first in line to give you that information, other people in the line may get frustrated and leave because they have to find their next home because they've already given notice about where they are. So that's a problem also with how we're currently gathering landlord references. So Landlord-Reference.com is legally compliant with today's laws, as well as those laws being implemented in March of 2020. We've worked very diligently with our attorneys while we built this system out to make sure that we are compliant with all national, state, and local laws. But it's also a fully complementary tool useful to landlords, property managers, tenant screening companies, and we're also very complementary to renters because they also find value in what we're doing. So Portland is changing a lot of laws that are going to be rolled out in March of 2020. Now, some of these rules can actually benefit us if we use it the right way and we use the right tools for that. And by benefiting, we can actually regain some power that maybe we thought we would lose. Two of these rules are as follows. One is the applicants must be reviewed in a first come, first served manner. I think this makes a lot of sense in general, but it also brings about a lot of challenges, especially if the person who's first in line drags their feet. The second one is a mandatory 72-hour waiting period after you post your vacancy before you can begin taking applications. So look at these in a little bit more detail. The first rule there about the first come, first served. The nice thing is, as a landlord, you can define what your complete application is. So instead of just saying it's going to be the rental application form, somebody gives you that and then they don't give you anything else. They don't give you their pay stubs. They don't approve credit criminal eviction. They do not gather or have landlord references. While that happens, then everybody else in line may get frustrated and leave, leaving you with an empty line and probably a longer vacancy. What you can do is you can require or have your complete application consist of your 4 requirements or whatever your standard process is. Most people we talk to and what we do is we have 4 different parts. We have the rental application form itself. We have credit, criminal, and eviction reports. We have the pay stubs or proof of income. And then we also have landlord references, which we're really kind of focusing on today. By implementing this 4-part application process and telling them up front that these are your requirements, your applicants will compete to be first in line. So you're kind of creating a competition where they will do the work for you. So they'll do all this time that may take you 5 to 7 days to get a landlord reference. They can often do that in 1 day because they're motivated and already have a relationship with their former landlords. They also, when they come to you and they apply them with all 4 parts done, they arrive fully prepared that allows you to immediately review their application and give them an answer of yes or no. So once again, that's also a benefit for the applicants too, because they can arrive fully ready and get an answer before they have to go off and apply somewhere else, possibly spending more application fees. A second law that's coming out is the 72-hour waiting period from the vacancy posting to when you can start accepting applications. The nice thing is for the applicants there is that they know there's a place they want to apply for. And then through your vacancy posting, you let them know what your requirements are. So it gives them more control and more power to use those 3 days or 72 hours to go off and gather up all that you're asking for. So when they apply, everything that you need is ready to go. So once again, this is also further explained in our best practice section, which we'll talk about as we look at the live site. But once again, you're giving more power to allow the potential applicants to pre-gather their information up. Now, the other thing that Landlord Reference does, it electronically captures when each application is received by doing a date and time. And that's something else that we're looking to strengthen further, but it's also a rule that's coming out that is important to be in compliance with that rule as well. So once again, when applicants arrive with all complete application requirements per your standard process, you can review an applicant's complete application in minutes, not days or weeks. Once again, greatly reducing your vacancies. Now, Landlord-Reference.com has many benefits over manually gathering landlord references, as is done by many people today. First of all, it's guaranteed. We do not charge an upfront or non-refundable fee because our system does the work for us. So when there's a report available, you'll be notified and you can actually purchase a report and you are guaranteed to have that report. So again, we gather it first, then we tell you, and then you purchase it. It's also much cheaper because once again, by employing this the right way, and we'll kind of cover this a little bit more here, is that it is cheaper because you don't have to use your own time or hire a screening company to do this work for you because your applicants can safely do that for you. It's also more reliable and you can allow your applicants to do this work for you because we verify every landlord's identity as a part of the process. So they cannot create landlord references or purchase landlord references until we fully verify their identity using our identity verification partner, who also then verifies identities for various banks and financial institutions around the United States. We also verify the identity of every applicant if you use our process. And what this allows you to do is to make sure that your applicants are not using fake IDs or stolen social security numbers. As I understand, this is becoming a bigger issue lately, and our service allows you to do that, once again, at no cost to you. The other thing, it's also much faster. Instead of waiting 5 to 7 days to gather landlord references, our service could actually make those reports available to you immediately. It's also much easier because instead of having to reach out to multiple landlords and have that 5 to 7 days that could be additive or even over the same period of time, it takes more time to do that. Whenever you purchase a single landlord reference report for an applicant, that report contains every available landlord reference for that applicant. So one report can have multiple landlord references. Again, by improving upon this process, giving more power to the applicants themselves, allowing them to do the work for you, you can actually then shorten your vacancies because now it'll be ready for immediate review. So Landlord-Reference.com can be used to screen applicants as a part of that overall process, but even more so, it can help you drive better behavior for your active tenants. And this is something that screening companies, they just can't do that. Our system can, and we'll show you how. So once again, we leverage a technology to improve the tenant's rental performance during their lease by really using let's call it a living report card. What we do and we suggest as best practices is as soon as a tenant signs their new lease, you immediately create a landlord reference for them. The system will then notify them that they have a landlord reference. And then as you capture information on them throughout their term, whether they bounce a check, they have a late fee, they've caused damage, they had some sort of a lease violation, you can upload this information into their landlord reference where the system will then automatically notify that tenant that they have an update to their landlord reference. Again, this is a constant way of letting them know everything you're doing by your choice is being captured by us, and you can no longer hide from bad behavior. So when you go off to your next place, you can no longer just refuse to list this as an address where you've lived, because it will be tied to their social security number. So everything you create will be tied to their social security number and will be linked to them forever. So it really encourages your tenants to perform much better while they're with you. Also, we allow our renters who have landlord references to review their landlord reference. Now, this is something that's very common and legally required for every American, that we can actually review our credit report for free one time per year. Because once again, so much information is being used to make decisions on, car loans or mortgages or a variety of things, sometimes even getting a job. So it's very important that people can review their credit report to make sure that it's accurate. The same thing here. We believe that as a landlord, it's important that we are doing the right thing, not just for ourselves, but also for our clients, which would be the renters themselves. So we then allow for renters to go in and review and ensure that their report is accurate. And if they feel that something is not, they have the opportunity to challenge it. Now, again, nobody can change a landlord reference other than the person who created it, but the renter can challenge it and say why they believe it's inaccurate. Another big value that our service provides is once you create a landlord reference for a tenant, whether it be during their term, upon completing their lease, once you complete a landlord reference on one of your tenants, you never have to provide that again. So say goodbye to the days where other landlords will reach out to you asking for landlord references. You can just have your voicemail tell them to go to our website and they can make that purchase there. We've also provided that best practice on the landlord's dashboard as well. Now, we've also mentioned here too, we're working with RHA Oregon because we are members there as well as a landlord and also as a vendor. And so we've allowed it so that you can use our entire service for free. Now, not everybody can do that because we have to make money to keep improving our site. And also because of our partnerships that also cost us money. But right now, as a member of RHA Oregon, you can use everything for free, including purchasing landlord references. So to make this easier for everybody, we encourage you to come here when you'll see later on, when you're asked, who do you want to have paid? Just click on landlord. It will then take you to a spot where you can enter in your credit card information. Please rest assured that it will ask you for that and you need to enter that, but your card will not be charged. We have to make some changes to our technology. This is the easiest way of implementing this quickly, but your card will not be charged as a member of RHA Oregon. Okay? So that's something that you can also do. Once again, membership is free. There are no subscriptions. There are no minimums. There are no contracts. We're just like the credit agency. If you need a report, you pay for a report. So again, you can also create landlord references for free. This is going to be forever. You'll always be able to create landlord references for free, and all we will ever charge for is purchasing the landlord reference report, just like if you were purchasing a credit, criminal, and eviction report. Now, we're also working with RHA Oregon and other organizations to provide long-term discounts so that we can give you a better deal than our MSRP. So once again, if you are using a screening company, there's really no reason for you to pay an upfront fee to have them try to gather landlord references. If you use our service or have them use our service, it saves them time, but also you don't have to pay a fee until a report is guaranteed. It's just a lot better for everybody involved. Anybody have any questions at this point? If not, let's go off here to our website overall. So here's what the website looks like when you first come here. You just type in Landlord-Reference.com and you'll see this. You can go down, you can look at the different benefits that landlords have, renters have, watch some videos. Here's how it works overall, etc. But what you need to do then is go ahead and just click on Landlord Screener Sign Up. And that would then take you to the point where you can go here and just sign up and create an account. Once again, it doesn't cost you a thing. Okay? Same thing for renters. It's just simple as that. Let's go ahead and log in so you can see how it really looks as a member of the service. Okay, if I can actually type here, I'd be in better shape. All right. Here we go. So what you'll see is that you'll see here when you first sign up, you'll see all these sort of suggestions that we think you should do, kind of in the order that you should do them. You'll also see here at the top here, I have it says verified. So I've gone through and I have verified my identity, and that allows me to create landlord references, purchase landlord references, also manage my team. So these are different things you can do as members. Now, again, we want to make sure that nobody can create a landlord reference until we know exactly who they are, because we capture their name on every created landlord reference and they can't get rid of that. It's locked onto the report. So just make sure that we truly know who created these things and you're not talking to a family member or a friend, not the landlord themselves. The first thing we would suggest you do is come down and look at the training videos. We've gone through and created videos that last no longer than 5 minutes, most of them around 3 minutes long, that explains what each of these buttons are and how you use each of those buttons and the functionality inside of each of those. So it's actually a very simple way of understanding how that works. And they're always available for you to review and share with your team members. If we go back again, we have the landlord reference. Let's go ahead and just click on this. But before we do that, see there's a red circle here with a 1 in that. And what that means is, let's click on it, is that a renter has requested a landlord reference from me. So they've lived with me in the past and they're reaching out to me to provide them a landlord reference because they're applying somewhere else or they're preparing to apply somewhere else. So I can go ahead and easily complete this by clicking on complete this landlord reference. And what you'll see is by the renter making the request, they are somewhat pre-populating the form with their information. So they've typed in what the address was. You see here, my information is locked in. So my email address, my name is locked on because it knows who I am as a verified landlord. They've told me when they've lived there. I have their name, their email address, their date of birth, and also their social security number. As you see here, the entire 9 digits is stored because we make sure that we link that to them forever. But we're going to show you the last 4, once again, to protect their identity. But also those last 4 can make sure that you are referring to the right person in your files to create that landlord reference for this person one last time. Now, another big thing too is when a renter makes a request, once again, they are requesting that a landlord fills out their landlord reference report. They never fill it out themselves. They are just making the request. But by them making that request, they're also agreeing to electronically sign a rental release form, which is actually here and will always be linked to this landlord reference. If I click on that, you can see that on this date, I electronically sign this, and here's all the information that kind of makes this legally binding. And so you can feel comfortable in sharing information about this person's tenancy because they have signed a legal document allowing you to provide that. Now, there's other ways to protect you as well, but this is really the first way of kind of transitioning how things are being done now to how they're being done with Landlord-Reference.com. If we go back to that then, all that you have to do is look and see why they moved and see if that's accurate or not. If not, you can go ahead and you can make changes to that. You can go down here as well and say, yes, when they moved out, I did offer them a new lease. They did provide 30 days notice. They did have 2 late payments throughout their time with me. They also had 5 bounce checks. They had $500 in unpaid fees when they left, and they also caused $1,000 in excess of the security deposit. Then you can also say, would you rent to them again? Yes, no, or prefer not to say. Enter information here if you would like. You can also then upload any photos or documents that captures why you gave them this landlord reference. Okay, so that is then viewable by the renter. When you hit publish, it will be available for everybody else out there to be able to view and purchase it, but also it's there for the renter to be able to review it and to see if they believe it's accurate or not, and if not, they can challenge it. So once again, since I have my verified identity, I can then publish this report. Okay. Once again, once I do it one time, I'm done forever. Let's go back to landlord references again. If I want to create a landlord reference for a new tenant or somebody who has been a tenant of mine, I can simply click on new landlord reference. Then I can just fill all of this information out, because once again, you are proactively filling it out. It's kind of the same thing, except for you have to put in things that the renter put in when they made the request of you directly. Okay. There's ways you can actually go ahead and add all of your addresses so you don't have to type those things in over time. And you'll see that via the videos as well. Once you then create a landlord reference, okay, even as you complete this one here on top, it will then be moved down here to your active landlord reference. These are ones you've created in the past. When you create a new landlord reference, it will be moved down here as well. So once again, these are all the ones you've created on the bottom, and these are the ones that are being requested by your current or former tenants to be able to do that. That's really how the overall landlord reference part works. If you go into application reports, so when you have a new applicant come along, just simply click on new application. You put in a little bit of information about this person. So where they're going to be renting from you, what's their monthly rent, what's their security deposit, etc. This is here because we are considering selling credit, criminal, and eviction reports, and we've just stopped, but it's somewhat there. We just have not activated that yet. That's why we're asking for that information. But all you have to do is enter in their email address, their first and last name, their social security number, their date of birth, and then hit save application. Once again, this is the information you will receive from the rental application form. Once that's done, you'll be able to see all of their applications that you have of your vacancies listed here. Now, as you'll see, these 4 here are for the same unit. Okay, so it stacks them up. And what we've done is we have the names here, and also when we first entered this application. It's capturing the date and the time. Now it'll rearrange these in the order that the landlord reference is available. So whoever gets that final piece of your 4-part requirement, it will then move the person who has the landlord reference first to the top, and kind of then arrange those in the order of whoever gets the landlord reference done first, and then in addition to when the application was submitted. So for example, Sue Fletcher here, she applied on February the 28th, long before other people above her have applied. But since their reports are available and ready for purchase, they moved ahead of her. So once again, we are doing a first come, first served based upon when all of their components were completed. Same thing here. They're both ready to be purchased. This person applied first. Therefore, the person behind them stays behind them. That makes sense? So what none exists means is that Sue Fletcher does not have a landlord reference to be purchased yet. So that's where you don't pay a fee because it's not available to purchase yet. If that was the case, you simply click on none exists. You would then click on this button here and notify the applicant. The system would then send an email to that applicant telling them to go off and gather their landlord references. If it says blocked, same thing, I click there. This means that the person does have a landlord reference, but they have not signed their rental release yet. And we'll go through that when we look at the renter side. So we default on a renter's account so that they have an unsigned rental release. So until a renter goes in and manually selects to sign their rental release, no one can see their landlord references. Once again, this is a way of protecting landlords from creating information that they may be sued for, okay? Because once again, the renter is the person who has to manually open that up for viewing. Therefore, since it was their choice to open that up, they can't sue you for opening it up, right? Now, they can sue you, but I don't know if an attorney will take a case that they can't win, okay? So once again, by simply clicking on Notify Applicant, this will send off an email to that applicant telling them to go in and sign their rental release form. Now, if they choose not to do that, they may be hiding something. Okay, so what we'll tell people is, you know what? If we just know what the risk profile is, we can then make a lease that may fit you. So you're not really doing yourselves any favor by hiding it from me. By opening it up and let me review your history, I may be able to offer you a lease with some changes. View report means I've actually gone through and I've made the purchase. I can simply click here and I'll be able to view the report. What that does is it shows you on this example is there's one address and then here's the second address. So this person has two landlord references that are available for me to view by purchasing one landlord reference report. So once again, the videos will explain more of this as well, but kind of gives you a nice overview of this. Once you're done, you can simply click on delete and that will remove these. It will remove these applications from your view here, so you can really focus on your new vacancies as well. Properties and units, this is where you'll go in. You can actually add your properties and units kind of in an efficient way if you don't want to have to type it in every time. Tools and templates, this is where you can come in and you can see what these are tools that we have as far as being best practices. If it's a PDF, that's something that, you know, that's our information and you can't change that. If you see it where it says a doc in various spots, this allows you then to go in and modify these documents as you see fit to align with what your standard rental application process is, because everybody has their standard application process. We don't want to tell you what it should be. We want to enable you to do it the best way that you can. So if you have a doc, you can come in here and you can actually download that, make modifications to it, and then download that to your own computer to pass out or do what you want to with that. So we have it here as just best practice, how you can actually just run your business using our tool. We also show you a voicemail message about how you can put this on your voicemail so that when people call and they're looking for landlord references, they will be notified via your voicemail to just go to this website to purchase it and not have to bother you. This applicant next step guide, this is telling the applicant what they need to do to go off and gather their landlord references. Okay, it just makes the process easier for them. And we usually hand these out to people who come by our open houses, and it tells them what they need to do. Or we can also email that to them if they actually apply online. The lease addendums are things that we actually add to our leases when we sign a lease with a new tenant. It lets them know that we are using this tool and that everything that they do will be captured. So we're telling them from the very beginning is just be a good tenant. You're the perfect tenant today, right? And it's up to you how you want to perform. You can be a great tenant or you can be a bad tenant. All we're going to do is capture what you chose to do. Now, what this rental release form is, they can also then sign the rental release form for you just to store away. Once again, as we transition from the old manual way to the online way. But this is another way you can actually have them sign the rental release so that you have that if you ever need to use that in court or whatever going forward. Once again, team management. This is where you can come in. You can add other members to your team so that you can all use the same pool of information. So if one person, you know, creates a bunch of landlord references and they go get another job, that all of their information stays with the team, and the team can then modify the documents inside of that team. So you kind of become a single centralized group that shares information just like you do in the real world. Once again, then you have the training videos. Once you're done with this, then you can go ahead and you can even hide this list of activities. It'll just show then these these 6 buttons here on the left-hand side. Let's go off now and show you what the renter's view is. think it's always nice to know what a renter is seeing so that you can also help them understand that and know that we are truly being helpful to these renters as they apply to your vacancies. It looks very similar, right? The same thing is, oops, go back to the profile. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna show you what they'll see when they first come here. They will also now see the same instructions, tell them what they should be doing, just like you guys have. And I've closed mine out because I know what the process is, so I've closed that out. So same thing here. We talked about it defaults to them having an unsigned rental release. And when they have an unsigned rental release, it means that a landlord cannot see their landlord references by making a purchase because it's not available. It'll say blocked. And what that happens is it's down here. So they can either accept or decline. If they decline, right, it tells me I've removed that, and now it would say blocked. If I say go off and make this change, I'm going to accept it, sign my rental release. Now it moves it down here, so now it will say purchase. All right. So they really have complete control over, with a simple click of their mouse, they can block people from seeing their information. But once you make a purchase as a landlord of their landlord reference, once you make the purchase, you retain viewing, even if they change it back to being blocked. Okay. Same thing. They have the same videos. They kind of explain these four. If we go into landlord references, these are the active landlord reference that have been completed by their landlord. So this is me. So this is my landlord who has completed a landlord reference for me. So it stays down here. And I can come over here and view that and see if I agree or disagree with it and make it challenges if I want to. Here at the top, these are other places that I've lived that I have reached out through this system and requested a landlord reference from a current or former landlord. And it will stay here until that landlord completes it. Once they complete it, it'll move it from here down to my active. Okay. And the reason being is I can go off and add, my last 10 years of places I've lived and then start sending those out to my landlords. And if for some reason they don't get back to me, I can call them up and let them know it's coming and then simply click on resend. Once again, there's a lot of communication that happens behind the scenes by the system. So it will just reach out to them and explain how the process works. It'll explain what they need to do. It makes it very easy for them to complete a landlord reference, whether they are a member of our service or if they have yet to become a member of our service. Application charge request. We've mentioned that at some point we're going to start charging for the purchasing of landlord references. Now, what that means is that you have the choice of paying for it yourself as the landlord from the application fee, or you can charge the applicant directly. We don't charge an application fee because I would much rather charge the applicant directly. So I'm never viewed, or a perception is never there that I am making money off of my applications. And I don't have to make returns of the fees and all of that. So I prefer to charge the applicant directly for their credit, criminal, and eviction reports. I prefer to also charge them for their landlord references. And if they do that, they'll be notified via email that they have been charged. When they come here, it'll just show them in this area a very simple way of what the address was, and they can pay for it or they can decline it, things along those lines. Okay. Again, I have the various training videos there. So again, it's a pretty straightforward way of going through and really understanding what happens on the renter side, what happens on the landlord side, and the renters have some control, once again, to protect you and also to give them a sense of privacy and control over their personal information. We also want to give the renters an opportunity to review their landlord references, to keep them from thinking that landlords have some sort of secret conversation behind the scenes where one lies to the other one, right? We're putting it all out in the open, and we believe that we will have the tenant advocates, the renters, the politicians will be much happier with this service because we are giving transparency that did not exist in the past. Are there any questions so far about the presentation itself, or a live view of the landlord account, or a live view of the renter account? If there's not, thank you for your time.